Welcome to the Moon Tribe podcast. I'm Simona your host. I'm here to inspire heart-led entrepreneurs and conscious leaders to follow their purpose and create a life of freedom, wealth, and magic. Welcome to the very first episode of the Moon Tribe podcast. I'm so excited to share this with you. So as we embark on this journey together, I want to take you back to how it all started. So today I'm going to share with you why I started my business to follow my purpose and why I created Moon Tribe. So if you're completely new to my world, I'm Simona Shimanovic. I'm a spiritual business coach, a yoga teacher, and the founder of Moon Tribe. For those of you who are into astrology, I'm a Capricorn sun, my moon is in Virgo, and I'm a Gemini rising. So from that point of view, teaching and being in business was kind of written in the stars for me, even though it didn't always feel like that to start with. Also, if that means anything to you, my Venus is in Sagittarius, which means that I love traveling. I love expanding my horizons. And my free spirit has taken me to live in quite a few countries. So I was born in Austria, in Vienna. I studied in Finland and in Australia. I lived in the UK, in the Netherlands, and I just recently now moved to Portugal together with my partner, where we are living in the countryside in Portugal. So my journey as an entrepreneur started in 2011. That was 1 year after I had moved to London. It was a time of big change in my life. So I had just gone through my Saturn return. Those of you who have had it, you know that can bring like quite a big upheaval. It's a time when we are really actually forced to connect with our purpose and to wake up to our true purpose. And I think it really moved me into my spiritual journey at that time. I was going through a deep personal crisis and really a time to remembering what I wanted in my life. And shortly after, I decided to move to London for my job, for my career. And I was working in the creative industries in London as a designer and art director back in the days. That was my previous career, which nearly feels like a previous lifetime, if any one of you recognizes this. Moving to London, I just remember that it was a very busy and also quite stressful lifestyle. And it's a city that moves very fast with lots of people and so much to do. And you kind of always, and definitely I was at that time really feeling disconnected from myself. And after I moved to London, I was diving more and more into yoga to find balance and inner peace. I started also going on retreats to get some time away from it all. And in that time, I started to feel a strong desire to travel to India, which is, of course, the source of all the yogic teachings. And I also knew that I didn't just want to go for a week or for 2 weeks, which was like my maximum holiday in my job. But I really wanted to take my time and explore the country. And those of you who have been in India, you probably know, I call it Planet India. So you definitely need your time because it's like a completely different way of life. And so for me, that brought me to a point where I was like, I really need to do this. And it was actually this strong desire for freedom and for exploring and for experiencing all the teachings, another culture, that helped me to make this step at the time, that was actually to quit my job after just 1 year of being there. So I quit my new job in a digital agency and I took the leap to go freelance. And it was quite scary at that time to do this. And I'm so happy I did. And many of the things that happened after were that was the beginning in a way. And it made me reflect because sometimes, when we have a job, we have this perceived security and we have the paycheck that we get monthly and we have kind of a sense of security. But on the other hand, being an entrepreneur really gives us this freedom to make our own decisions. And I've been reflecting about it quite a lot lately because this desire for freedom that I had back then when I started my first business is still the reason why I am in business today. And the freedom has many different shapes. So for me, it's also the time freedom that I can decide to work when I want, where I want. I can take holiday without having to ask someone like my boss if I'm allowed to go at that time. Then there's, of course, the creative freedom and also the financial freedom. So this is still for me really a central point. So it helped me to take this scary step at the time and leave the security of my job. And it was so worth it. Actually, after this moment when I became freelance, I ended up working less and earning more. And I created a successful design business with consistent clients. And it also gave me the ability to travel 2 months every year, which was amazing. I did a lot of trainings. I did a lot of personal development, did a lot of education, and also a lot of personal healing in this time. And that led me then in 2005 to do my yoga teacher training in London with my teacher. And then I went much deeper into the spiritual teachings. I learned more about working with the moon. And also it helped me to find my voice as a teacher. Then as part of my travels, I also went to LA for some time. And coming back from there, I really felt inspired then to create my own company. There was kind of a sense of possibilities, that anything is possible, that I felt after this trip. And I came back and I went to a workshop as well that I remember gave me this last little nudge. It was in the Soho House in London where I was a member. And there was someone who was a consultant, an entrepreneur, and he gave this workshop that was called Screw Work, Let's Play. And I was like, yeah, I'm all in for it. I was ready. And I was already for some time actually really struggling to bridge the gap between being in the office and being part of the corporate world. Even though I was in the creative industry, it still felt very much boxed in. It felt like I couldn't bring my spirituality really into work, that my colleagues wouldn't understand. And the deeper I went on my spiritual journey, I started feeling like I don't really fit into this world anymore. And it took a lot of energy to pretend. And so I think I was just ready to make the move. And at that time, then I founded my first kind of proper company called Moon Tribe. And that was inspired by actually also partly by my travels, because I realized that wherever I went in the world, and I was traveling in Asia, I was traveling in Australia, in New Zealand, I was traveling in the US, and I felt wherever I went, I could find this tribe, this conscious community, this spiritual community that were doing yoga and meditation and breath work and ecstatic dance. And there was just like this sense of community and of understanding that you are on the same wavelength with each other. And for me, that just gave me this sense of, wow, there's this conscious community all over the world. And wherever I go, I can connect to them. And I actually feel more connected sometimes than to my neighbors that are just across the street. So I realized that the people with whom we are on the same wavelength, on the same frequency, that is actually so important. And this also led me then to creating Moon Tribe. I will share much more about this as well. So Moon Tribe was always a conscious movement. And in its very first shape, it was an ethical clothing brand that I started. And the vision was to bring together my love for design and for spirituality. I created a first collection using sacred geometry, working with the moon, and using sustainable material. I launched it at a yoga festival in the UK, and then it was stocked in many studios in London, even in New Zealand. It was very exciting. And the business started to grow. I even had at some point 2 people in my team, a producer and an intern for social media. It was very much fun, especially in the beginning. It was so exciting. And then as the business started to grow, I noticed that I was getting more and more overwhelmed because it was a bit of a, I was the main person running the whole thing. And I was also still working on the side. And the main reason now looking back was that I was really operating still from my old ways of working from the corporate world that I was used to. And I ended up getting myself close to a burnout. So at that time, I was just pushing and forcing, and I was just getting exhausted. So that then led me, I was at that time in Bali working in a co-working space. And for the first time, I experienced coaching. And I met someone who was a coach doing a group coaching program for startups there in Bali. And I decided to join it, even though it was kind of a big investment for me at that time. I knew I needed help. And that turned out then to be truly life-changing. And from that point on, it really opened my eyes to understand the power of coaching. Nowadays, I wish I would have known it earlier, because in my own journey as an entrepreneur, I was actually for a long time just learning by trial and error and making it up as I went along. And I had, I think, no idea what I was getting myself into. I was just so excited about the business. But I could have made my life so much easier. And I could also have saved a lot of time and money by not just learning by trial and error. But coaching came at the right time and helped me. So then fast forward in 2019, I decided to leave London, to leave the big city, and I moved to Amsterdam. And in this time, there actually happened kind of a big change in my business. It was not fully intentional. It kind of just happened. And what happened was that my business started to change its focus away from the clothing brand of Moon Tribe and more to me teaching yoga, hosting moon circles, and also working as a coach. So I had my first clients as a life coach. Actually, some of them were already entrepreneurs back then. But it was more with actually me being in the spotlight. And then, of course, we all know that only a year later, the world kind of changed and we went into the lockdown, which was a crazy time, I think, for all of us. And what I can say, it was really a time for me also to dig deep and ask myself questions about what do I really want in my life. And I realized that I actually really wanted to go deeper into my business with coaching, that I loved it, I was good at it, I enjoyed helping people. And I also wanted to create a business that is location independent, where I can work online, as I love traveling, obviously. I also realized that I didn't want to do it alone anymore. I think that was another lesson in the lockdown, that I had been kind of going for it by myself. And it felt very lonely. It felt very isolated at some times, especially in the lockdown, right? So I wanted to be part of a community, to be part of a group and have the right support. So that was a huge understanding at that time. And so I actually found one of my first mentors in that time, an amazing coach in the US. And I joined a group program with her and with spiritual entrepreneurs, women all over the world. And that was my biggest investment at that time into myself and into my business. But it really helped me to set a strong foundation, to be really clear about my business, what I want to do, who I want to work with, what I want to focus on. So it has become really a solid foundation. And I'm very happy to say, still during the program, within 6 months, I made the entire investment back. So what it really helped me understand was that I wanted to focus on business coaching. I'm a Capricorn, right? So I love talking about business. And I'm also really passionate about helping conscious women who want to start their own business and want to help people and make a positive impact in the world. Because that's very much has been my own journey, and I've been there and I've learned a few things on the way. And I'm really passionate about empowering other women and other conscious entrepreneurs. So nowadays, I am actually working location independently in my business. And I work with my clients one-to-one and in my group, and I help them to elevate their business and their life. I also have a beautiful community for conscious women called Moon Tribe Circle, and I host transformational retreats with my partner. So this is just like a short version of my story and of the path that has taken me to be here now with you today. And I really hope it sparked something in you, whether you are already firmly on the path of following your purpose or you're about to take the leap. Please remember that we all started somewhere and that the world needs your special gift. So go out there and share your magic. Thank you for listening to the Moon Tribe podcast with me, Simona Shimanovic. I'd love to share my free abundance meditation with you. Go to simonashimanovic.com and join the tribe.